Okay, so today we're going to be talking about another chapter of The Emperor of All Maladies by Siddhartha Mukherjee. And today we're going to be talking about another step closer to the cure of childhood leukemia. And as I last discussed, Min Chiu Lee was actually the first to like quote show the first chemotherapeutic cure for cancer for adults. And though I noticed I misquoted last session by saying it's the first cure to cancer, I meant first chemotherapeutic cure. Doesn't mean it works for all situations, but for adults. So we don't really know for kids. And yet at the time, many doctors fired him. Many doctors looked down on him for it, and they fired him from the NCI. And, well, who will bring this revelation back to the limelight? Well, as Frey and Freyric were trying to find out what they should use to cure childhood leukemia, and so as they were trying their best to assure the patient's parents that they're going to be fine, they're going to be cured, and actually live up to it, not failing in the end and the child dies. Because, and quote Freyric, who was beginning to become systematically and logically mad by this. Even though we got all this and that we're getting closer, tell that to the mother of a daughter who just lapsed into a coma and died. It's pretty harsh. But fortunately, sometime later, still around the time that Freyric and Frey were alive, Dr. Howard Skipper, who thus called himself the Mouse Doctor, came up with a stunning revelation. In his laboratory, he decided to work on leukemia for a bit, but in mice instead of human. So first off, he cultivated a type of leukemia that can be grown on a petri dish. Once that happened, he injected it into the mice, and first he just wanted to find out that if the leukemia actually did affect the mice, which it did, very negatively. And now his goal was to try to find a cure for it via the mice. And with some drugs and constant testing, the leukemia cells went all the way back down to 0. And it was like, it works. This mouse-made model works. And he showed it to Frey and Freyric. They kind of doubted it because the constant testing means that they'll have to do it to children. And it was pretty unethical back then because, you'll probably be literally hurting a child every single day, 24 hours. Even though it's for the sake of life and death, they didn't want to cause pain to the child. But apparently it looks like that's the only choice. They had to. And thus, in order to make their project true, they tried to, use 4 specific drugs that are made for cancer. Vincristine, amitriptyline, mecarbetopurine, and prednisone. Or, as simply as their acronym, VAMP. Though VAMP has, a dual meaning that goes both ways. It can mean something that is meant to patch or cobble something up that is about to break apart. course. But it also could mean being a seductant, something that promises something but never delivers. So despite meanings, they were willing to test it out. But everyone else was unwilling to. It took a little nudging until a few years later, they were actually finally able to test it. And Zerbond, who was trying to push it away because he wanted to avoid political scandals as possible, because it's what it may cause from it. And well, as soon as they started testing, his political nightmares starting to become true. Most of the patients started to have really bad conditions and it seemed like they worsened. And well, didn't really look good. They were considering to quit and treat them with aspirin to ease the pain and so. But interestingly enough, later the cancer count went down to 0. The bone marrow was fine. And all the patients was like, hey, we're good again. We feel strong. We're good. Well, not immediately. They had to go through some recovery. But hey, they were cancer-free at least, right? And thus, due to finding this stunning revelation, all the patients that survived the treatment were brought back to their homes happy and cancer-free for a pretty long time. Oh, by a long time I mean a few months, but still. It was great. Frey and Freywick presented their stuff to national communities. They dejected it a bit, but accepted it because of its results. And they started doing more trials for VAMP. But then for all the original people who were tested on for VAMP and survived, started coming back one by one, experiencing seizures, facial paralysis, and a hurting sense in the back of the neck. And remembering in the 1800s that one scientist actually found leukemia cells that hosted up in the brain instead of the bone marrow, Frey and Freywick were quite worried. They checked the spinal fluid. Guess what? Leukemia was back. One by one, all but one child died. The reason I said all but one is because that one child survived, and the author personally talked to her. And well, it was actually a pretty stressing time for her. For all the other people that survived died, and well, it was a real mess. Though Sidney Farber caught wind of it and decided to present the successful cases of the much improved versions later that allowed children to live for years. Not weeks, not months, years. Full years. Brought them to Congress, and thus chemotherapy was popularized a lot more. And thus ends my reading.
So this is another attempt of chemotherapy. Is that right?
Yes, and it's more successful than the earlier ones.
Why?
Because this one actually worked and improved upon.
For 4 years.
For years and years to come.
And then the cancer came back.
Well, it relapsed in the brain. Not anywhere else in the body, but the brain. I think their main problem is to figure out how to get the leukemia cells out of the brain.
That's what they need to. So, and how did they do that? So that was interesting. They found a mouse at first, and they injected.
No. They had not mouse. Well, not simple mice. They were lab mice.
They found some lab mice and injected to them the leukemia.
Leukemia.
They,
well, more like a synthetic version of leukemia.
So, but how
still.
how do they fight its? How did they fight the leukemia? How did the lab mouse, fight the leukemia?
It kept on growing. Their bodies didn't know what to do. But with the constant testing that Skipper did,
With what?
with the constant testing that Skipper did, that's what fought off the leukemia.
Oh, meaning he tried new formula of chemotherapy in the mouse, and he found the right formula to get the leukemia out of the body of the mouse.
Yes.
Okay, I got it. Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. And there is still one girl, one lady, little girl that survived.
There's at least one survivor.
One survivor.
Whom the author met. Well, by the time the author met her, she was 56-year-old.
So, and you say that there is a lot of pain. They didn't want to do that because it was very painful for the patient.
Yes, it
in
was.
In what way is patient? Is it? In what way?
They were too weak to get out of their beds and chemotherapy.
Oh, when you put a lot of chemotherapy, because when you put chemotherapy, do you have an impact on the immune system?
Yes, and the hair falls off. They become bald.
Yeah, but besides that, do their the system immunity, does it has an impact on the system?
They weaken greatly, and I think
they weaken the defense of the body. Yeah, right.
Oh, not just the bad cells, the good cells too, and what it does, they're held in like.
So you have a bad.
I think they're held in like isolated chambers, like will help themselves recover from it and not get attacked by any virus. So, yeah.
So the immunological system.
The immune system.
The immune system is weakened by chemotherapy.
Yes.
Okay. And you said also in that case, when the disease comes back, that facial issues, you're saying?
Facial paralysis. They cannot move their faces. They cannot make any expression.
Oh, which you think it's based to the brain?
Like they cannot smile or frown or be scared. Oh. Anything. They cannot make any simple...
And you think it's because of it's in the brain? Oh, okay.
There's always a part of the brain that is in control of a certain part of the body. And likewise, there's a certain part of the brain that is in control of our faces.
Okay, that's true.
But also there will be some causes of seizures and all this other stuff at times, partly due to the cancer.
So what do you think about this chapter now? What did you
chapters?
What did you learn from it?
Learner was pretty interesting, and chemotherapy is actually more painful than I thought it was.
Okay. So you learn what is the part you enjoy the most? Where the interest you the most? Besides, you learn about chemotherapy is very painful. Besides that, what else did you thought were very interesting?
The parts I found were the parts I found interesting was when Skipper used the mice to find out the potential cure, but I think it was actually his interpretation of what Min Chiu Lee did to his patients.
So you always, when they find an animal, they always find somewhere to test their solution.
Yes, an animal that's genetically related to a human, like a mouse or a chimpanzee or a dog, or basically any animal that's related to a human.
Okay.
Or a mammal.
Okay. Oh, thank you very much, then.
No problem.